start streaming. Alright everybody, hey, it is Saturday, September 26, 2020, and considering I absolutely hate the sound of my own voice, you know what, how about we just let Ed speak? I guess I better unmute him now.
Well, thank you for unmuting me. Hey, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Please forgive me, it's been interesting since I got out of that dental work. I mean, my tongue is swollen, it's still a little frustrated, and it's difficult trying to talk with a swollen tongue, but that's just the way it is. But anyhow, we were going to get into a couple things. I'm going to open up tonight before I bring the chief in. You know, what's going on is that people got to start paying attention to what's coming down the pike here. If you don't start proving your standing, and I even sent this out and I posted this up on the Facebook pages for you, and the law that says that you have to clarify your standing when you go to these administrative courts. That's why it's so important. You don't go to these courts, you write them the letter ahead of time. Everybody keeps going off on this crazy fantasy. I'm going to have my day in court. You know, excuse me, what court, whose court, what court are you dreaming of? See, I mean, people have got to start coming into the realization of what's really coming around the corner here and what we're really living and what you're really living. See, that's why when I do my letters and I put out the stuff, and every time I do this, I always put them non-combatant. I have a structure that I put out with the laws, with the Indian treaties, with the structure. You know, it's a little paragraph long, but at least when I put out my letters, they know my standing right when they get it. Go prove me wrong. And that's the whole point. You want to make sure that you have your standing. That's making sure the kids know how to can. You know, collecting rainwater. It's like in the state of Oregon, you collect rainwater, you're going to jail. Bullshit, I told both governors off on those public hearings. I collect rainwater. And everybody knows that about me. You know, so this is not just something that is just, you know, out there. You know, this is the one thing that, you know, the education and paying attention and realizing what you need to do. Because remember, this is what you need to do. If you don't do this, and remember, you can't get your kid a Social Security number, and when you do that, you put your kid in jeopardy, because the Social Security number can only be done by an adult of 18 years old. And so that's the one thing that, you know, you clarify that standing, because, you know, that is brought upon the court, basically, to do that. But see, they're not going to tell you this because they're all using our straw man accounts, they're using our bank statements, they're using all this stuff so that way they can further their own pocketbook. And they're doing it. And the saddest part of the point is they're getting away with it. These senators and congressmen know it. They're caught in the middle. And so, and I know it too. I mean, we're all caught in the middle per se. But that's the point. Are we caught in the middle or are we not caught in the middle? And how do we start making sure that ourselves and our children don't put themselves in jeopardy? See, I mean, once we start comprehending how this stuff, you know, if we realize that this is what we're living right now today. This is not a movie script. We were warned this. We have been warned this for the last 50 years with the voting, and if people didn't pay attention what was going on. We were warned if China was able to come into this country and do this structure. We were warned back in the 40s and 50s dealing with the Muslim push, and then we got really warned in the 90s when, Pelosi didn't tell the public that they passed a bill allowing the Muslims to be in this country. Well, they committed treason right there. See, I mean, and this is the point, these treason charges. So when we're talking about helping Trump out, we have to write the treason charges because, as we've proven, the only ones who can make lawful or legal complaints. Criminal complaints on the Public Employees Union is living men and women. Remember, corporations cannot write an affidavit. A state cannot write an affidavit because they're not the injured man or woman. They can't sit there and put that in. That's why when they, the court systems write some of this stuff up and they have you sign it, they're trying to get it to pass and go mustard. But that's the one thing that you got to realize. Some of these things that these public employees do, it does, put themselves in jeopardy. And we do have some good elected and public servants. We really do out there. But then we got a lot of criminal ones in Lincoln County and the rest of the state. I mean, our own governor is a terrorist. This is the one thing that is so sad that we're going through this crap today. And the average man or woman has no idea what's really going on with, they just think that they're going on in life. They're not realizing that they're paying themselves by their own interests and bonds and stuff. And so once we start realizing how this system works, we have to make sure that the children comprehend it at a younger age. And when people say, oh, you can't educate a kid until they're 18 years old, they got to go have fun and play time. Wrong. I've done it myself. You educate the citizen, you educate the lawful bloodline native, so that way there is no conflict of interest. Because I want to get into this point that I've been putting around, and I'll get it back on the Facebooks tonight. But clarifying what branch of the government is the police, the United States Marshals, the sheriff deputies, the sheriff, the district attorney, legislative council, executive branch. We always say that we have 3 branches of government, but we have 4 technically, because the people, the bloodline, or the lawful bloodline natives are the ones that are over everything. And so we've been so talked about all this stuff to give up our rights. And, when Hannity comes out and says, we need to save our democracy, he's been bought and paid for. Fox News has been bought and paid for. They're coming out to save our democracy. Think about it, folks. Where's our republic? Republic has rights. Democracy does not. So this is the saddest point in history. We are actually living this craziness today. So anyhow, let's go ahead and bring the chief in, and then, because me and the chief were already talking about some stuff, so I want to continue that conversation so you guys could hear what we're bouncing around too. So this is the whole point about the education here. Go ahead, Chief.
Well, you forgot one. That was the Secret Service. The whole entire reason the Secret Service was put together is to go after counterfeiters. Yep. And that's really what this whole design is. It's a counterfeit design. It's like Christ speaking in parables. Okay, they're not going to tell you the exact truth of what's going on. You've got to dig a little bit. This is why we're so adamant about having you study and read. We know it's a pain because we do it almost every day. I mean, we pretty much eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, and we're racking our eyeballs out and our brains out. But it has to be done because we are in the fight for our lives right now. Like, what was it Reagan said? We're always one generation away from being enslaved, and in reality, that's what it is. It's an entrapment, enslavement system. But what we were talking about earlier was what we found out is, a lot of people are going into these courtrooms and they're trying to challenge jurisdiction and they're trying to go against the judge and whatnot. The structure is not set up in that fashion. It's a bankruptcy. Okay, so the country is in bankruptcy. They need your credits. So they need you, for lack of better situations. You can see it on YouTube. There's a video, and I'm pretty sure it's been around Facebook quite often, and that's the speech that JFK made back when he was president. And that was, don't ask what your government can do for you, ask what you can do for your government. And, they're this is where Ed and I have a different venue when it comes to other people, because we've both been down in D.C. and we've had to deal with these people. Okay, that's the other reason why we don't care what your educational status is. Whether you're a newbie or you're been in this for a while, we can pretty much cover both ends of it because we had to deal with that in D.C. When they would bring in the new college students and whatnot, you kind of had to inform them what was going on because, they were wandering around like tumbleweeds, bumping into each other and not fully comprehending what they were doing. And then that was the other one. You also have to teach them how to read. And most of them are, professional scan readers, and that's all well and fine, but you really have to pick up sometimes and take time to stop and review it a couple of times. That's probably why, Ed and I are pretty quick when we talk, because, you'll get the ones that are slow on the draw, and then you'll get those ones that they're lawyers, and they've been in and out of court, and they talk fast. And that's the thing. When you're in a courtroom, they're talking quick because they want to get you in there and out as fast as possible. And all they want is that signature. The minute they get that autograph, signature, endorsement, mark, whatever, they have a contract. And they're going to force it under contractual rules. That's why you have to learn the different versions of the contracts.
Wait a minute. Let me add one thing. It's called Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. Contracts, get it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
Simple. It comes down when you step out of the movie and you watch the productions of how your Constitution, your Indian treaties work. So once you start understanding how the Constitution works, and remember, the Indian treaties by law are above this. So I'm going to give you the four. I'm talking about this group that I want to start, the Lawful Bloodline Native Americans 1866 Lives Matters More Than. And the reason why I'm putting the more than into this is because Black Lives Matter, everybody's going Black Lives Matter. It's the biggest racist organization for Antifa that people don't get. It's amazing how people cannot see past the nose or the hillside. They can't project what's on the other side. I mean, if you ever been hunting, before you get to the top of a hill, you have to predict that either there's an animal on the other side or you don't know. You can feel it. So, but anyhow, go ahead, Chief.
Well, and that's what we were discussing earlier before we actually came on, and that is there's a lot of new executive orders that have been put out from the last, 4 years. And when you get into those, it really explains some of the things when it comes to the treaties. That's one of the things Trump did was he brought back in the native treaties and all the treaties. So you've got to, get your head bent around it, which we have the websites you can go to that are actually government websites that you can read the stuff on. One of the ones that brought me onto it was a new friend of mine. She had one of her little postings there, and I happened to scan it because they're, into this stuff themselves. And I can't remember what it was, something solutions. But as it turns out, when I went there, it brought up the Executive Order 31818. And when I clicked on that, it took me to the website, and then it showed me all the executive orders that have been changed. And right down to the original papers that they typed and they submitted. So, this is, it's very good because in the reality of it, it brings back a lot of freedoms, but you have to know what they are. And, just to give you an idea, there's 60 million different versions of things they got going on with this color of law. I was just talking to a guy earlier today, he's all like, they told me I had to have a permit in order to actually have a yard sale. Well, if you don't know what you don't know, you're probably going to have to get a permit, okay? But that's them bullying you around. I mean, it's nothing more than bullying.
Well, not only that, because they're getting a permit because they're claiming that property is their property. So you're asking permission to sell your stuff from your property, and that's exactly what it is. They want to get a permission slip to sell their assets.
Or to tax you again on your assets. Think about it. You're going to sell a little girl that comes down the street, your child's doll because she's, in college now, but the doll's still in good condition or still in the box, because you got a couple of them because you knew she was going to tear them up or something. But to the new little girl coming up, she doesn't know that. But the minute she gives you $5 now, they want $1 out of it, if they don't take all $5.
Well, that's like putting the certain cities have been putting in that for the kids to mow lawns and chars, they have to get a permit from the city. And that's ridiculous. I used to work for the city of Fairfax, California when I was 14 years old. We didn't have permits, and I did all the maintenance for it. When I was 14, they paid me out of petty cash. I didn't have the permits or all that. Oh, that's right. That's where they pushed the democracy bullshit on you. Go ahead.
Yeah, that takes away the entrepreneurship of anything. It really does. And, that's the sad part is they want to stick their nose in your business. Okay, what you need to do is tell them, look, I don't stick my nose in your business, but if you want me to, I am fully I fully comprehend what you're doing here, and we can play that game. But really, we're just wasting a whole lot of time here. Move on to somebody else that you can bully. And that's the interesting part of it. But what we've been finding out is that, really people are challenging judges and whatnot, and it's really not that. It's like Ed said, you've got to get the paperwork in there, and you're delivering the paperwork to the clerk of the court. The clerk of the court is the most important individual in that courtroom because she's the one that says, this person has a trust fund set up from this design, and we need to borrow from it. We need to have some of it. Okay, so she's going to appoint a trustee, which is actually the Commonwealth or the opposing, the attorney. But like Ed said, they're working for a corporation. They're not working for a private person or private man or woman. Okay, and that's the big thing. You've got to watch that word, person. Okay, that's not the same as people. Okay, so, you've got to get your head wrapped around that. You want to come in as a man or a woman of flesh and blood and a native bloodline. If you can prove yourself 5 generations, which I think I've thrown that out there before, you can go to Family Search and do that. I've had great luck with them because they go through all of it. I mean, for some reason, I don't know what they do, but they go by everything: death certificates, birth certificates, marriage certificates, divorce decrees. They actually, it's almost like they have a back door to some of these courthouses. And I think that's what it is. I think under the Freedom of Information Act, they've taken it so they can keep updated. And as long as you can get back to, probably the, early 1800s, you're at 5 generations. And if you can prove that on both sides, the maternal and the paternal side, you've pretty much got them. Now, that's the other.
That's a term where it comes half-breed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I've been watching these commercials that are coming up on the TV and stuff, and all these now they have online where you type in your job resignation, your job description. And now it goes on a central computer base, so they're finding people's jobs around the country now. And so they're thanking this computer for finding them a job. Now once you do that, you have no rights because, see, you just gave your rights over to the corporation because now you're not free because, oh, that's right, you didn't get the job yourself. You had to ask permission. That's what's really going on, people. You get to this point where you've lost that, where you can't go get a job on your own. Oh, my God. Now you've lost it, and then that way you can't get a job, and they tell you where you're going to live next. Go ahead, James.
And to complement that one, the NSA is actually at that right now. If you do not have some kind of facial identification and they want you to get a government ID, okay, driver's license, passport, different things of this nature. If you don't have one, you can't get a job. And then that's what the Democrats are pulling right now. Kamala Harris and Biden are actually saying that they're trying to take the right to work away. They take the right to work away, you're already going through it with the NSA for not having a license. Okay, so they're forcing their way of life on you. That's an infringement upon your rights. Okay, so here's the other one. Now they're going to take the right to work away, so now you got to actually beg the government for a job. Well, right there, you're out in the streets. You're literally out in the streets because if they decide, oh, well, you drank too much. One of the videos I like is the end of Freedom to Fascism by Aaron Russo.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron Russo, Ed and I know Aaron Russo because he was one of the top-notch managers back in the day. A lot of people don't remember him, but when he was 17 years old, he found the group KISS. He couldn't even get into half the venues. He had to talk to people outside the street because he wasn't allowed into the bars. But then he found Bette Midler when he was 23, and he's had probably, 32 to 50 some odd groups underneath his belt. Now, he did a program called Freedom to Fascism. You can get that on YouTube, but at the very end of it, there's a woman, guy calls in for a pizza. And he says, I want this, like pepperoni sausage, this, that, and the other thing. She's like, oh, well, from the medical records you have from your doctor, are you sure you want that? And then she goes into the breakdown. By the time he's done, that $15 pizza is going to cost him like $75 to get it delivered to his house.
Because you got to pay 5 different insurance plans.
Exactly. You know, and that's the other thing, is that you're actually the insurance also in this whole game. You're the underwriter. Look up what underwriter means. Underwriter means you are granting them an insurance policy from that fund. Okay, and that leads back to your Social Security number and your birth certificate. You know, and, you know, people are out there aware of this stuff. There's other people like ourselves that are out there that are trying, and, you know, we're trying to get everybody to come together, because the sooner we get everybody to come together, the stronger the force is. You know, and once we get that rolling, you know, everybody's going to be better off, and we're just a few steps away. I was reviewing some stuff earlier today. That's, you know, one of the reasons why Ed and I probably talk 2-3 times a day on an average. But that's because he'll find something, you know, and he'll ask me about it, you know, and when I get a spare, you know, situation, you know, take a break and come back to it, I'll review some of his stuff, just take my mind off of what I've been doing, because after a while, you know, it's like people have said to us, we give you headaches. We apologize for that. But, you know, it's just because we care about others and we want to see others succeed and, you know, get yourselves free. I mean, for lack of better situations to describe this, we're living in World War III, but by World War II standards. I mean, if you don't know what we're talking about, I think it's the Maltese Falcon.
Yeah.
Show us your papers. Show us your papers. We want to see your papers. You know, do you have your papers?
Right and now with the hospitals. See, and this is the one that I try to explain to people. You know, I filed my paperwork with the hospital, so, I mean, usually I just walk through. See, you know, I mean, I'm not going through the test all the time, and then when I go through the hospital, you know, they're going to want to go, well, we're going to test your forehead. So I need to see your qualifications for that radiation gun you're using on my skull.
Yeah, if you really want to back them up, ask them if they're a certified toxologist. That always shakes them up fast. And that's because you have to take a lot of schooling to become a certified toxologist. You know, they're you know, and I just posted one this past week. You know, they've actually, a guy proved it because he works in that field when it comes to the medical situation, and they put masks on several different people, and within 5 minutes they removed one and showed all the stuff that's attached to that mask that's coming out of your body. And they spray it down with some, you know, for lack of better words, they did a little CSI thing on it. And it showed all the mold that's coming out of your body and how fast it'll change. You know, because they don't tell you change your mask on a daily basis or switch up your mask every so many hours and whatnot. You know, and for what we know also is you know, they know that they'll make more if we're dead than if we're alive. We're a burden to them alive. We're not a burden to them dead, because they make gazillions of dollars off of it. You know, that's the way it's designed.
Point real quick. I said just something I thought of real quick. The reason why we're a burden to them while we're alive is we may actually grow a brain cell and do exactly what we're doing here, claiming ourselves and taking what they're stealing from us and using without our permission to actually take it back for ourselves, like stripping it should be. Of their power. Basically stripping of their power. But if we're dead, we can't do anything, right?
Well, and what is a governor? If you have a governor on a motor, it restricts power. It keeps you at a certain level of power. You can't go but so fast. And he's correct on that. But you see, that's one of the reasons why Ed stated earlier, he says, you know, we're coming as a non-belligerent, non-combatant, as a peaceful individual, you know, peaceful man, woman, child. You know, they all think of us as child. That's why we always refer to the GMEI utility website, because when you're fishing around there, you can click on it. It'll say ultimate parent and direct parent. And one of the questions I believe Ed and I've already sent to him is, who's the ultimate parent and who is the direct parent? Is the ultimate parent the federal, you know, government, and the direct parent is the state government? And then you have the branch. Okay, well, branch usually means bank. Okay, right. But here's the thing. We are the bank for them, and that's what you have to get in your mind. Now, as long as you're willing to play ball with them, as we have found out from many other people that have, you know, long since been doing this long before we got downwind of it. As long as you're willing.
We were talking about there.
Which one? The land patent situation, or?
No, the one we were talking about that you've been watching the videos a lot lately.
Oh, well, that's the other one. I really get into a lot of videos. One of the ones that I really like is videos by Radiant Clone because it has Patrick Devine in it. And Patrick really did
We're gonna have Patrick Devine.
Yeah, he really did figure out the system. He really did. And when you listen to him, you got to give him a little grain of salt because he gets a little wound up too. He gets a little angered on there, but Patrick passed away in 2017 to leukemia. He went to all the nuclear plants. He was a nuclear physicist, basically, that would, fix the plants when they were, lacking certain things. And he took control of mainly a lot of construction, and rebuilding them if they had to be rebuilt or if computers weren't coming online properly. And, you got to keep that core cool. Otherwise, you're going to have a 3 Mile Island or Chernobyl or, what you had out there in Fukushima, and that's the idea. And, I'm hoping that we're going to be stepping away from the nuclear stuff because, that also creates warheads. There used to be an old song by a group called Rare Days. It was called, abortion is unthinkable, but warheads are okay, and none of it's okay. It seems like, that's why Ed and I kind of chuckle about it, but it's really not funny. They've got us as dead individuals or dead strawmen. That's your all caps name. But your normal name, with the uppercase at the beginning and the lowercase for the rest of your name, is the agent for that straw man. But you have to know how to be able to settle the accounts, okay? Because it really is. It's an account. You're using an account. Ed posted that again. I think I reposted it also this week. You can see where the Social Security card back in 1935 said account on it. Well, they took that away so that they could kind of pilfer that stuff, because if you don't claim it in the proper way, because it's your credit, you're loaning them your credit. I posted that also on top of it today and wrote quite a few things on my Facebook page because I'm dealing with, this also leads to the courtrooms. You can type in your court case. As long as it has a dash in it, it'll show you how many bonds are connected. Just to give you an idea, my zip code has 13 on it. My former phone had 45 on it, or no, 41 on the phone, 45 on the iPad. Okay. 432 now, just jumped up another 4 digits when it comes to the power company. So you see, we're loaning them our credit, but they know how this game's played because they were set up, and they've talked to lawyers. They can hire lawyers. And most of the lawyers they get know this stuff. So they just file the paperwork and then they dismiss it by more paperwork. And when you're taking your Federal Reserve notes and paying, your bill, as they call it, and you might want to take a look at that. Most of the time it says statement. Okay, bill statement, which means they're saying, thank you for the money and we're going to write it off and pocket it. Okay, you have the right to do the same thing. So, and we really need to start, taking a look at these things. That's where we're at now. And we need to, we're figuring it out. We've gotten most of it done. But that's why it's adamant to file your paperwork. You got to do an age of majority. You got to claim that you're the age of majority, which is anybody above 18 to 21, depending on your state, especially if you're after 25. And then you also want to claim yourself. When you claim yourself, what you're saying is, I'm taking over control of this. Okay, you've had it, and you guys have just made a mess of it. And what they really want to do is they want to relieve the debt. Each time we spend a penny, it's debt. Each time we spend any kind of cash, it's a debt. And now they're trying to go cashless. Well, I'm really not sure how they're going to work that one because we're so far into it.
If that ever totally happens, we're going to be really screwed because they put a chip in you. You got to remember that chip is going to have cyanide in it that they can take you out any time.
That would be X versus Sever with Lucy Liu in it and Antonio Banderas.
Wow, my God, they already had that in history, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, you see, that's just it. They always make movies for you to see what's, might come about. They give you little hints here and there. It's just a matter of, like Ed says, you can watch the movie, but sometimes you got to step out of the movie and see what it really means and what it really is. One of the ones I recently got was from a new friend of mine. He sent me the one on the...
oh, God, what is that? The movie where they're doing the humans.
The Matrix, or...
No, they're eating the humans. They're using the humans for food. It's Charles Heston movie.
Soylent Green.
Soylent Green. And that is real?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the sad part. It's coming down to where we're cannibalistic. We're dumping food into the ground and burying it, but we're going to eat each other. Yeah, okay. No, thank you. I believe that was The Book of Eli was the name of that movie.
Yeah, that's the scary part. People ain't getting it.
No. What was that? That was, man, I can't even remember because that actually happened in real life with that airline that crashed on the side of the mountain.
Donner Party.
Thank you.
Airplane that crossed in the mountain.
Yeah, but it was the Donner Party. He was right about that.
Well, the original one, yeah, but the one where they ended up eating each other.
That was the Donner Party one. That's where they crashed in the jet, and if they had searched one way, they would have found a cabin like 13 or 39 miles or something in one direction. But that's the problem is you get out there in a snowstorm or you get out in the woods, and it's a known fact that you walk around in circles. You don't go in a straight line. You have a tendency to come back where you were. So They just got lucky because they could freeze the people. It's just, they're not freezing them now. They're actually opening up restaurants for it. And, people like Katy Perry came out and said, oh, human meat's not that bad. Yeah, Katy, we can't hang out. I apologize, but we just can't hang out. I know I'm a little carnivorous when it comes to the beef and, pork and stuff and some other things out there, chickens and whatnot, but, that's totally different. But that's the idea is that, if we're going to keep going in this direction, who knows what else we already know for a fact they're taking human fetuses and putting in different, combinations and stuff. Nestle's, Pepsi, McDonald's has been known to have actual cadaver meat in it. So, that's why we're kind of adamant about raising your own food or connecting with other people that, raise food. It's heartbreaking,
I remember when I started, I couldn't eat McDonald's anymore, man. I started getting such a stomach ache every time I ate it, I ended up throwing it up.
Yeah.
My body said,
Yeah, I know, but every time I hear you say that, it leads me right back to Rambo. I taught him stuff that would make a goat puke. But that's the other thing. In the next couple of weeks, we're hoping that we can break away. I've got some things that I've got set up so that, and I know that I've sent it to Ed, and that's the actual structures of Statute 8, Statute 9, and Statute 12, which is the banking and financing stuff. And this gives you also more stuff to actually fight with. It's like last week when we said to them that we don't believe they have all the proper licensing to do these things, which that's something that Ed and I are working on to send down to the, if you want to call them higher ups, we call them public servants. Public servant employees. That's because that's what they are. They're supposed to be employees for us, not the opposite way around. And that's the way they've structured it. They've made it so it's the opposite way around. With the zip code, you're supposed to be a government employee. And one that was taught to me today was, how many digits are on your Social Security number, Ed? How many digits are on your QSIP?
Yeah, I think mine is 7.
How many digits are on your QSIP number? How many digits are on your Social Security number? And, oh, by the way, how many digits are on your zip code? There's 9 in your Social Security card. There's 9 digits in your QSIP, and there's 9 in total on your zip code because it's 5 digits dash 4 digits. Your QSIP number is basically 9 digits completely. Turn them upside down. The old Jimi Hendrix song, if 6 was 9, I don't mind. Well, when you turn 3 9s upside down, what do you get? For all you people that are into your biblical situations, that would be the mark of the beast, 666.
Yep.
So, it's they hide stuff. They're tricky. It's like, for lack of better words, I was listening to the video earlier, and the guy said they're just a bunch of little demons. And he's pretty much right. So we have to step up to the plate. It's time for us to take control. These older ones, I mean, do I really need to mention Pickled Puss Pelosi? Their time is over. It's time for us to take back control and to operate in, they want us to operate in commerce. That's fine. but at times when I go home, it's just like a job. I leave work at work, and I try to leave home at home. When I come home, I don't really want to hear about work. So that's the idea, is that, we've got to get to the point where we can handle the things during the working hours. And if they need our help, that's the idea. Ed and I are extending our knowledge out and our help to them. We're not trying to battle them. We're trying to help them. Now, if they want to be that belligerent and combatant, we have a tendency to walk away until they calm down. Once they calm down, then, we'll get back to it. It's even affected my family. I feel sorry about some of the things, and I want to apologize to my aunt and my cousin right now because we're going through some family issues. They have helped me out tremendously to the point where, I was in tears the other day because of things that have gone on. But you see, that's the whole idea behind this design. They're so used to divide and conquer. There doesn't need to be any division. We need to come together now to help each other. I don't want to see a kid starving and in the street without any shelter. I don't want to see their parents out there with them either. I don't want to see them living in a car. When this whole design was meant to take care of us, not to destroy us. And please don't ever put Bill Gates in front of me. I'm liable to cause a tort.
You're liable to go postal.
Yeah, that's a good one. You're probably, I would say you're correct on that. That assumption and presumption, as the courts go by. They go by assumption and presumption. They don't go by facts. You have to give them the facts. Okay, that's why we say you have to give them the paperwork. And that's the other one. There's a certain design on the paperwork. There's what's known as the Stamp Act. Take the time and read it. Back in the day, they wanted you to put your mark on it. Back in the old days when they actually did, sealings, they would seal a envelope and send it. And they used to use the old wax, and they would take their ring and just embed it in it. The other one is you might want to bone up on the Masons, the Freemasons. I know people don't like to hear about it, but, a lot of stuff from these old times are still here. And, once you really get your head into it, and you're not angered about it, that's the biggest thing. Don't get angry at them. They're actually here to serve us, not us serve them. It's not just us, as in they say. It's not about them. It's about all of us. And we have to help them do their job. Let's take a look at it. The school system has dumbed people down, for lack of better words. They've become more ignorant. And there's some people out there, they just, they've got to have their drink every night. They've got to, there's some that are weekend warriors, that you're going to have issues. They know for statistical fact that around the full moon, people get stupid. The hospitals will tell you that. They have more people coming in full moon times than they do any time of the month. So, we're not here to fight. We're here to calmly take care of business, because it really is just business. It's nothing personal. And it seems like everybody is going in here with these personal issues and, acting the fool. Don't act the fool, as my grandmother used to say. Don't act the fool. And, that's the other one. People don't look at it as, there used to be what they called the court gesture. The king used to have the court jester come in so that, he would do his little pantomimes.
The dictionary we came from.
Yes.
If people don't know that, you got to read your history and comprehend what history is and where these jokes started from.
And see, that's the other one. If you get into this like I am, that's like the next situation. If they want to act the fool while you're in a courtroom, I'm going to get a little bit, I'm not going to be ignorant. I'm just going to ask some questions. It's all about asking questions. It's how we get information. It's how we exchange information. But one of my favorite ones lately that, I think every time Ed and I talk about it now, we can't stop laughing, and that is, who gave them the right to use the book that they're using to throw at us without asking permission to use the copyright from that book first? Where's your papers to prove that you're allowed to use that book to throw it at me? Okay. And seriously, that would cause a tort. And that's really what courtrooms are for. It was to maintain order and the fact of, if you went and put your hands on somebody else, that's an infringement on their rights. If you went and decided to get drunk, whatever, wasted, and you decided to hey, I'm just going to go across this guy's lawn tonight in my truck, and you got stuck in the guy's yard or you're tore up, that was the whole reason behind this. You're harming the land, you're harming that man, that woman, that child, you're putting them in a bad position. And that's what we're trying to resolve here. Look at, you don't have to, you can turn the TV on right now and you can see all the stupidity going on in the Conquer and Divide, so.
Well, it's even on YouTube videos and shit now on these commercials. I get so tired of the commercial where it's like, I'm Joe Biden, I want to ask you a favor. And it's like, what do you mean asking me a favor? You ain't my friend. Man, that's the one thing. And people are going to get brainwashed to that thing because of the way his tone of voice is. Remember, they spent billions, the Nazis did, to control your mind. And we're living it, and they're doing it to you right now.
L. Ron Hubbard.
That's what? Oh, what is that thing that, Scientology. There we go. Yeah. There's another one. Oh, Scientology, and you guys don't realize that what that really is?
The psychological warfare. It's the bottom line of it. It's psychological warfare. If you actually look at it.
Really? You guys are picking on Scientology as psychological warfare whenever you got a book that was supposedly written about, 1800 years ago? Also known as the Bible, that has been psychological warfare from the beginning? Come on, go to the source.
Well,
that's
we
true.
We always love it when you chime in. We always love it when you chime in. What, you don't strike a match first before you light the candle? Come on.
Not
striking the match.
Not if you're Antifa. Then you get the lighter, the big lighter, light the cloth that's in the bottle, and then throw it out to the forest like they've been doing.
Oh, how about in the old days when they used to burn the cross, when they was talking about, Black Lives Matter? Really? Okay. I remember one that used to run around in white hoods and white sheets and call themselves the KKK.
Oh,
I don't think they've changed that yet.
Oh, yeah. There's some guys I've been watching. They're black. They're two twins. They're conservative. You know who I'm talking about. It's not. But I'm not going to plug them. But basically, they flat out said the Democrats founded the KKK, and I'm like, yes, thank you. Finally, somebody who's black actually admits that the Democrats were the ones that founded the KKK. I love that.
You're talking about the H brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I'd plug them in a heartbeat because, yes, I saw that same video, and they have quite a few good videos. There's another one, what is it, Papa Duck. I'll plug them in a heartbeat because, they're out there trying to get the truth out. This divide and conquer, status situation when it comes to skin color. Seriously, I got tattoos on me. Come on. I got a little black in me. They're usually outlines. Some of it's gray shaded or black shade.
I've got one tattoo on me, and that was placed on me.
Oh, now don't tell me you got their numbers on your wrist, Ed. You're not that old. I complain about how old you are, but come on, don't tell me you were over there and had to show the papers and you had little numbers written on your wrist. No, come on.
Nope.
No, but I actually went to high school with a guy whose father actually did escape. And he had the numbers on his left arm, and it went from his wrist to his elbow. And they didn't care how they did it. It started out like small and went to large. And how he got out was when they told them back in those days, when they shoot at you, just fall anyway. And he said it took him 3.5 hours to climb out of 1,300 dead bodies, basically. He wasn't sure he could get out. And, you know, when you see something, you really want to take a trip, go down and see the Holocaust Museum in D.C. That'll rack your brain real good. When you see when they used to take people's skin and make a lampshade out of it. And that really messed me up because the lampshade actually had the guy's actual tattoo of a rose on it, I believe. So.
But here's the point. You better go and see it soon, because if the extremists get in there, they're going to take down all that history, so that you'll never know the atrocities that happen, so they can redo the atrocities whenever they feel like it.
Yep. Well, look at it now. They're tearing down the statues. I mean, you know, the statues can be thought of two different ways. You know, you can think of they were good at the fact they were forefathers and they shaped this world, they shaped this land.
And we learned from what they did.
Right. And we also learned by the mistakes they made. You see, there's the one that really is upsetting me, is that, okay, yes, they weren't perfect people. Who is? Are you stating that you, by burning down buildings and you know, tearing out windows and looting are any better? Absolutely not. You know, and that is a slave mentality. That really is a slave mentality. And it's sad. It's extremely sad.
You know, we're living this whole bunch of shit, and, you know, people are like, we can't believe we're living at this. And it's like, come on, I'm just shy of 60. Okay, and I've been listening to this shit for at least 45 years of my natural life, what was coming down the pike. So when people say, I didn't know about this, it's like bullshit. And it's been in all the TV programs. I mean, it's like it always killed me, or what always got me. You know, you'd be watching Barney Miller and that stuff. You know, and they arrest somebody, and they got him and held him in jail, and I forgot what the one guy, the curly guy, here came out with a famous speech. I can't remember what it was, like, you know, but it was like,
oh, Jehovah.
Yeah, and it was just, you know, well, we got to keep incarceration so we can pay the bills. He said it right there in the program.
Well, that's like Giuliani coming out and saying New York is actually the capital of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And for once, he wasn't lying. He wasn't joking. He was serious.
New York City is the head of the Vatican.
Yep. So,
people don't realize how powerful the Vatican is.
Well, it's like anything. You need to deal with it. We all have to deal with it, you know, and that's the idea, is we have to come together. I mean, you know, take a look at Australia right now. They're locked down for 23 hours a day. It's like being in solitary confinement. They let you out for about an hour to stretch your legs, and then they put you back in a cell. Yep.
California right now is getting ready to have all their electricity shut down for 48 hours. I mean, you know, all these people who run life support machines and all that, they're dead.
No, they're trying to push the backup generators, which guess who's going to be profiting from that? You know, it's not we the people. It's those that also haven't taken any time from their jobs that put 50 million people out of theirs. And some of them actually had lifelong businesses that were 3, 4, and 5 generations out here. And, you know, when a woman can't go cut hair to support her 2 children, you know, come on now. I kind of have a little sore spot with that, because I've set ants that have been doing that for years, you know, and to tell people that they have to do things that, you know, they shouldn't have to do. You know, who are you to tell me what I can and cannot do? And that's the whole idea. Are you not usurping on my rights or infringing upon my rights?
Well, it's like when I was going through the state that I've been going through, the state of Oregon for years. And it's like, you know, the state got involved, tore apart my family, played all these psychological trauma games, and then the governor now, at that time she was Senator Kate Brown, and it's 2006, she goes, well, Ed, that's all civil matter, that's not criminal. And I said, no, it's criminal, I'm Native. And it's like, no, it's criminal what they're doing. It's not a civil deal. Because I'm not a slave to them. And me and Kate Brown been arguing that for years. You can see that because I've had it on my Facebook page. I've got it filed in the House of the Senate. So, I mean, California is getting ready to have their houses, shut down. So people don't realize what that's going to do. If you have family in California, what that's going to do.
Well, and then he didn't explain why you split up between the Senate and the Congress. The Senate is international, and the Congress is here for the soil. And they're the ones that, he who benefits is the one who's supposed to actually pay for this. So they're benefiting very largely.
Act, isn't it? Isn't that part of Title 12, too, in the Banking Act?
Yes, indeed it is. Yes, indeed it is.
See, and that's the one thing that people, when you don't read this stuff, and it's like, we do it, get as much as we can. But you have to read this stuff to comprehend it, because unless you have total faith in what we're telling you,
Well, with that one, that's the other thing. If you have troubles with reading or comprehension, I've had that in my life. I've got a good friend that I very much care for. He's a brother. He really is. We've been through some thick and thin crap for the past 42 years. Okay? And we've had our bouts. But, that's what a friendship is. It's not always pleasant. You try to make it as much as you can, but you're going to have differences of opinion. You just have to learn to agree to disagree. Okay? And we're okay with that. We'll agree to disagree. But because, he's not as educated as we are, extend that hand out. That's, if you're going to go by that old book, that's a psychological warfare situation, that's what it says. You're supposed to help those that can't help themselves. We're all supposed to share and share alike. Well, they ain't sharing alike, are they? Are they forgiving you for your trespasses? Absolutely not. They're charging you for it by their own design and construction. The problem is that now we figured it out, and that's what, like the producer said earlier, they're afraid that we're going to pick it apart. Well, it's too late now. You guys wrote it in there anyway. Like Ed says, they wrote it, we'll quote it. And that is that, what was hidden shall be revealed, and what was stolen must be returned. And that's basically where we're at. You stole it, it's time to return it. You got both hands caught in the cookie jar. Oh, you want me to get it off for you, do you? I think you ought to just keep both hands in that cookie jar. It's a little bit easier to take care of you. So.
But this is the whole point, getting this stuff out. That's why I keep writing this stuff up, putting it out there. Because, see, as long as that they're saying on Facebook right now that everything that's done on Facebook is public record, could be used in a court of law. So, of course, I'm posting everything on Facebook. I have nothing to hide. They never paid me, and then they sit there and said they paid me money, and they've never paid me a dime.
Oh, I like the other version. You brought me into the public. I wanted to be private, but you drugged me kicking and screaming and infringed on my rights, and therefore it's worth $1 million per lawsuit per man, person, they're persons. Public servants are persons. Okay, so for each person that violated, that's $1 million per hit. Okay, for dragging me into the public, it's a $100 million hit. Okay, and that's why you've got to get your heads wrapped around this stuff. And no, you're probably not going to get the full amount. And then that's the other one. A lot of people don't get it, but, they're going to try to give you Federal Reserve notes to keep you into the system. The current rate for Federal Reserve notes towards silver is 24 to 1. I think it's 1865 or 1885 or something, in gold to 1. Okay, according to the original design, it was supposed to be dollar for dollar. Okay, now if I've got to spend $1,885 for 1 ounce of gold, that's not dollar for dollar. And that shows you how they inflate and deflate. Eventually after a while, you inflate and deflate a tire, it's going to go bad. If you do the same thing with a balloon, it's going to pop.
Yep. And that's where we're at right now. People are not paying attention. That's why
about to pop.
You file to own yourself, own your bloodline. Because that way it comes under contract. You have a contract. Because what is that? U.S.C. says a lawyer can only represent a corporation. So you have your papers, your corporation papers. You own your corporation. It's you. So you have to represent your corporation. And also, too, remember, a lawyer, an attorney, a mayor, a judge, a city council employee can never hire a lawyer. They have to defend themselves personally.
The other one is once you actually get into this, after a while, you'll get to the point like Ed and I are, and you'll find that flaw. It's just like one of the videos I was watching the other day is, a lot of people get weirded out when we talk about proper syntax because they go to the quantum syntax of David Wynn Miller and L.H.J. Gould. Okay, that was from 8,500 years ago, and it's going to take a little while to, interact that and implement it into the system. But it's actually, if you look at it and you look at how computers are designed, it has a lot to do with the computer programming setups. The difference here is that proper syntax, if you say declaration, DE is a minus, okay? De jure, de facto, that's minus, okay? That's what they're doing in these courtrooms. You're minus the jury, you're minus facts. The opposing, team can actually just, like, I don't know how many times they've used sovereign citizen on me, and it's like, that's an oxymoron. You can't be both. But if you don't educate yourself and you don't educate those around you, you've already lost the battle. And, we don't like to even use the word battle because, we're not trying to be, like we say, we're not being belligerent, we're not being combatant. We're trying to come to a peaceful term situation. A lot of people don't know it, but it's an account. And when you think about that, you can always settle the account. Now, I even asked a lawyer recently, he's like, oh, no, we're beyond that. You're never beyond settling accounts. Okay, you're never beyond that. Okay, for him to say that, he clearly lied right there. Okay, because in reality, you can always do it. And if not, there's always paperwork to modify it. You really, when you get into the paperwork of the contract field situation, that's where the standard form 24, 25, 25A, the standard form 28. And 28 is actually payments for the bonds or to reclaim them. Okay, now with 28, basically what you're saying is, okay, you can have your portion, but what do I get for you taking up my time? That's why we stress, reading and taking your time. That's also why we tape these things, so that you can play them back. You can stop them at any point and listen to what we had to say, and you can look up the information. It's just
point,
like I said.
If I may. Before anybody jumps into doing this kind of thing and basically making them freak out and, how do I put it? Make sure that you have an unfortunate accident so you don't go too far. Before you do any of those steps, is it just a suggestion? But you should put together an affidavit claiming yourself as a lawful bloodline, or claiming yourself, period. And in that affidavit, also putting in a statement of fact that if anything, any unfortunate circumstance happens to you, an accident or something like that, or malpractice or anything like that, then all of the bond should be null and void, or it should go to your bloodline. And if there is no bloodline, it becomes null and void. Something in there to
Shut up.
What, Ed?
That actually...
I said I actually know the guy who wrote that up.
It's actually under pains and penalties.
I got filed in the hospital.
Yeah, it comes under what's known as pain
investigation on everybody in the hospital.
Well, that's one of the ones we mentioned earlier. That was if you go to anticorruptionsociety.com, I believe it is, or .org, one of the two, Anti-Corruption Society. That's where Judge Dale put in some paperwork that you can actually copy. Your children's health is in there. The using of the new meters that are digital, that's in there because we all know that puts out radiation. A lot of people don't know it, but that it can actually start up your microwave in the middle of the night. Now, you're not going to hear the fan. And I actually tested this myself with a friend of mine's radiational wave. Not only that, but there's videos on that on YouTube where they actually took it outside for those new meters. And, seriously, it's putting out some radiation. That's also with everybody's talking about the coronavirus, but the new 5G towers do the same thing. There was a guy who was actually standing on a street corner across from a tower on a building, which the building I think was like 12 stories high, and he was in England. And he was literally across a 4-lane plus 2 side roads and standing on the pub corner. And it was at like 3,000. Seriously, you're supposed to be somewhere under 1,000, and even that's strong. It should be somewhere around 400 or 500. So, and it comes under pains and penalties, and then you can actually do when you do the affidavit, you can include what do they call it in legal terms? Man, my brain's farting right now. Basically, you write up exactly how much it's going to cost them if they damage you. You can include that so that they harm you, that they, like the producer said, that they're going to take responsibility for everything. That's been a lot of people's concerns right now with the vaccines coming up. Them talking about, well, you have to get vaccinated. No, I don't. I have an immune system. I'm a child of the old vitamin days. And I'd rather stay with that or something natural that the Creator put on this earth. The Asians.
You're saying you're the child of the vitamin days. Man, you're a youngin'. I'm a child of the mud pie days. I'm the child of going out there and inhaling, eating rocks and dirt. And you want a good immune system. That's a good immune system right there.
Yep.
Yes, this is true. This is why they wore masks in the old Western days, in case the dust kicked up, so you wouldn't suck the dust down. Not so much of it, I guess. And that's the other one. We put one up where a guy takes a vape and goes through all the different masks, even the one that's supposed to be the top-notch one, and still it's seeped out. So, but that's the whole idea, is that, that's why your body has an immune system. To combat what you get, and the sad part is a lot of people don't even know it, but influenza was even created in a lab, the natives didn't have that issue, before others.
Most of the stuff's been created in the lab and airborne.
Yeah. Well, it makes me cringe every time I think about it when, every time they talk about putting a syringe in somebody, I think of the and I hate to even use the title, but, the black people were literally given syphilis by government experimentation, to try to kill them, to try to sterilize them. I feel bad because I think that's exactly what they're trying to do again, is trying to sterilize us, so that people don't, that's one of the things that, Down syndrome, it's the 47th chromosome. You have 23 from your mother, 23 from your father. And what they were trying to create was a zombie-type individual that would just do what was supposed to be done and do what was supposed to be told and then be happy just to get fed, and they didn't care about money. So.
Well, and then the other point we got to consider, do we know who the clones are?
Yeah.
That's a real scenario. People forget that point. So, we already know what they've done with the food system. Destroyed a lot of our food system.
Well, yeah.
Changing the genetics in that over the last, 40, 50 years.
Yeah, because we didn't used to feed cows corn.
Like what our children are growing up like today. Fighting. Fighting in the street with no education. Somebody sees something on a TV commercial and they just go nuts. Tell me if that ain't programming.
Well, look at what's going on with the division right now, Because of my skin color, I'm a target.
Well, see, I had an interesting, I grew up in San Francisco, and it was interesting, because we had all colors around us. And we grew up, we weren't racist, we weren't playing these games, we didn't have this stuff. We knew that there was a border if you went down to, we call it Chinatown, Mexicanville, whatever, the Russian area. But everybody knew as long as that you walked through and you weren't a problem, causing a problem, you didn't get harassed. And all these movies and TV programs and, bring all this stuff up and all this hype. I grew up in San Francisco and Haight-Ashbury days. You knew walking down the street, you could tell by who was gay and lesbian by the way they walked. So, and it gets to me that people are that stupid today.
Heck, I remember playing dice in the back alley. Quarters.
Done that too.
And it didn't matter about, as long as you had some change in your pocket or a pair of dice, man, and some flow in your pocket, we could hang out and play. Just really fun.
Minimum buy-in usually was $10.
Well,
that's one thing, been there, done it myself. But see, it was interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going down memory lane. I hear a voice in my head here about to come up. So maybe we should let the
open up the floor, see if anybody would like to bring something up.
Yes, I think we should. I think we've been rambling on enough.
Of course, we've never done that before.
All participants are unmuted.
Fire.
The floor is open. Anybody like to add anything?
Well, the Donner Party was people in the 1800s trying to get to California.
Well,
the airline that went down in the Andes with the soccer team, I believe, was in the 1980s.
Right.
Yep.
And the only one who was ever convicted in the States for cannibalism was Alfred Packer.
They didn't get Dahmer for that?
Huh?
They didn't get Dahmer for that?
Oh, he was a big cannibal. Yeah, Dahmer? Jeffrey Dahmer? Come on.
Jeffrey? Well, the sad part was that shows you the ineptness of the unfortunate police department because remember the story where they caught his little Asian boyfriend outside and they returned him right to him? And within 72 hours, he was dead. So...
What goes on, don't it? We're living in this crazy shit.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
But putting this stuff together, this is what the whole thing. So educating the kids around you and this stuff, now putting this stuff together, we're advancing stuff, we know you're standing. I posted the law up on the Facebook pages of your standing and the U.S.C. code on how to claim your standing. And yes, they already had the paperwork in the system, how to write it up. And if you go to somebody's paperwork, Very interesting. It says the paperwork shall be done in red ink. So you know that you're getting into the lawful structure. So that means you are definitely liable for thy actions. And that's what we want. So that way we get to say, what was that called? Our republic. So, anybody else like that, anything?
May I?
Yeah.
Yeah, earlier Chief said something about they try to get you to sign the papers and stuff like that so they can get the funds. In doing your instrument, wouldn't that be also considered under Title 1343 wire transfer or wire fraud?
Yes, because they're just scanning your signature, autograph, whatever you want to call it, mark, and transferring it over to an electronic situation and not even using paper anymore. They're creating it online.
Mm-hmm.
But also with the stuff that they're doing, wouldn't that be like fraud or false statements that you could also get them on?
Yeah, that's where we were leading earlier too. We were talking about that earlier under the executive order situations. And the 114th, 115th, and 116th congressional committees have changed quite a bit of things around to protect you somewhat on those. But, you know, once again, this is where we have to learn those.
Well, see, this is the whole point of bringing this stuff up, so we're educating each other on this stuff. And then that way, when we know we're doing our paperwork, we know we're standing. You know,
also,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to just say real quick, but also, couldn't you connect that also with Title 284101, Section 1 for defamation, since they're bringing up false charges on you?
Right.
Depends on if they're using defamation or character assassination. It's different between the states.
Sometimes it apply in both, but not all the time.
Right.
You got to really read that stuff and see how it applies it. But like I said, this stuff is homework, just doing it. And so, I mean, and so when we sit there and read, I mean, I'm putting together another 28-page deal I'll have up here in the next day or two. But, I mean, it's getting this stuff out. And then I've got to get the stuff finished that I'm doing on the nonprofit structure. Because if you're a nonprofit, how you can sit there and still be a nonprofit, but make sure you do not autograph anything. You don't autograph anything. That's the whole point.
Well, you see, and that's the other one that was called to my attention by somebody who's very spiritual. And one of the things he mentioned is that if you got baptized by one of these churches that has a 501c3 on it, did you really get baptized? You got baptized by a government entity. So you see, that was a really unique one to be called to my attention.
That is a good one when you really think about it. Because if you believe in that type of religion, you know, you want to be baptized what you believe you're being baptized, not baptized by a corporation that is putting you in their system to own you.
Exactly. So, yeah, and then the other one is that he's correct. I mean, people less forget that the federal government was the first government. The states had not set up shop yet. Okay, so that's why we always kind of lead back to the federal, you know, statutes and codes, which, you know, code broken down. I mean, basically you have to decipher the code. But try to stay away from their codes. You want to, you know, as a private man, woman, and those that, you know, you have the children, when you're going into these situations, you know, you have the right to create your destiny. They don't have the right to tell you what your destiny is.
Or
so
That's what gets to me. All these TV commercials I'm seeing on YouTube and stuff, you know, and the other channels I watch, and it's like, you know, they got these, go to the federal government, go to the government, go to your unemployment office, they'll get you a job, and it's like, you're going there, you're giving your rights over, and so you don't even know how to get a job. You know, I mean, every job I had, I went and got myself. I didn't go to some government agency to get it. I learned how to pick up a phone and say, hey, do you need a mechanic? Here's my experience. I think that was just yourself phone and say, hey, do you...
Well, you just mentioned it. Every time there's a TV break, they're showing you a commerce shell.
Commercial commerce.
So you're still operating in commerce. And you see, that's where they try to goat rope you in, is they're saying you're operating in commerce. That depends on what you're doing at the time and what they classify as commerce, which we'll get back to that stuff with the law books here shortly soon. You know, but you can look that stuff up online, you know, I mean, and you're probably better off going from a dictionary to actually, you know, research, because, you know, the law dictionaries are totally written in a different fashion for them to adhere themselves in a contract to you, and an adhesion contract, which is just like sticking glue on you, or, you know, heaven forbid if it's super glue.
Now, see, I mean, the one thing is getting this stuff out. We're getting it. We're starting to wake ourselves up more and more, utilizing this stuff. And then when you're filing your paperwork, you find out that they don't want nothing to do with you.
Yeah. They figured out that you're not one of those ones that was born under a sucker every day or every minute.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, this is the beauty part about this stuff, getting this out. And then when I finish this other one up on the nonprofits, because then that way I'm writing the structure up so that way how you can legally and lawfully protect yourself.
Well, remember we were talking about the loophole on that one.
Bring it up.
Okay, so since there is no actual money, okay, and everything's based upon credit debit, and really upon debit, okay, how can they be a non-for-profit? Everybody's a non-for-profit because there is no lawful money. It's a Federal Reserve note. You know, we're playing a gigantic game of Monopoly, and the bankers win here, but you are the banker, but you have to take control of that. You know, when you release yourself over to any contract, if you don't read the fine print, and the latest and greatest on that is we can change this at any moment in time, and we don't have to contact you and let you know. No, because that's not full disclosure. If you're saying that's full disclosure, then you need to break it down bit by bit, and you need to break the words down. That's where we were talking about the difference between RE or ING. You know, does it have two vowels, no consonants, no nouns? You know, that's where the proper syntax of structure comes in. You know, people think that an English teacher's job is real easy. It is not. It is the worst, horrible thing that you have to go through when it comes to education, because they have to know how to really structure a sentence. You know, it's like the old, we got lucky because we had those commercials, conjunction, junction, what's your function? And I still didn't pay attention.
Well, I mean, look at some of the TV programs we had growing up, and there was, you know, a lot of this stuff's been right in front of our face growing up, and we didn't even pay attention to it.
No, we're waiting for the commercial. To go grab a snack, you know. My favorite scene is the one out of the Jerry Lewis movie, where the woman's sitting there, and every time a commercial comes on, she's got the product right there. You know what I'm saying? The hairspray, smoking the cigarettes, you know, eating an apple pie or an apple or something. Just cracks me up every time, you know, because right there they were trying to, you know, explain something to us. And yet we didn't catch it. We thought it was funny, you know.
Now we get it, you know.
I just feel sorry about the mailman in the Blondie series, you know, Dagwood Bumstead coming out there late every time. Although he could make a nice sandwich. You can never figure out how to get that daggum mouth around it, you know. A Dagwood.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead, may I?
Hey, Ed. How are you, and how's your puppy?
Doing good. We're doing good.
Good, good, good. Who is the gentleman speaking?
That was Chief.
Chief?
Yeah, Chief Black.
What's your Facebook?
It's Joseph Pugh, Cross Junction, Virginia.
Joseph Q?
Pugh, P-U-G-H.
You want to introduce yourself? What'd you do, run off?
Who?
Oh, I was going to say, are you going to introduce yourself?
Oh, this is Cheyenne.
There you go. Thanks, Cheyenne.
Now,
So it's Joseph Pugh on Facebook.
Yes.
So, but
Okay.
yeah, and then
Hi.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said hi. I like when
Hello.
you speak on Ed's call. I like that. I just ran into 28 U.S. 2410,
Uh-huh.
and it has to do with property on the United States.
Uh-huh.
And it has to do with the courts.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm trying to figure out how they are still in people's homes.
Because you don't have a Bureau of Land Management title to it. They're going under deeds of trust, okay? And a title is stronger than deed of trust. But you can claim the deed through the taxation department. You can ask for it back. What you didn't know was your real estate agent, and forgive me, Mother, God rest your soul. My mother was a real estate agent, and in the paperwork of the real estate agent, they get you to sign the contract, and then the real estate agent actually puts it in for the title of deed
To the county registration.
Correct.
There you go.
Correct. We know this. Most of us know this. And actually, the deed doesn't need to be in their record, into
No.
their court.
No, it doesn't.
He does not even need to be registered in the county. Or
Correct.
You can request it to be given to you, but you're going to get some resistance because they want that tax write-off.
Correct.
When we say tax write-off, it's because they can file a 1099-C and claim the money that you're putting in there.
Correct.
And and that's the issue there. In the old days, you actually would get it, and then you would put it in your Bible of all places.
Correct.
Now, you sound like you have a specific avenue to travel. So, what has been your experience? Is the question.
I have fought property tax since 2011. I end up the house ended up getting foreclosed on 2018. But again, my question would be, if they just have a certification of sale, how do they end up owning that property, the title, and to be able to sell that? Then it goes back to it's a federal land.
Well, also,
or
too,
it's United States land.
Technically, they couldn't foreclose on it because the bank cannot own property.
I get that. I know that. But guess what? They're foreclosing.
No, I know that, but see, the thing is that what I'm fighting that, I'm dealing with tax suit because I'm getting ready to go after them on the state here, because in the state of Oregon, in our Constitution, it says we should not to pay property taxes.
Right.
Well,
You
the
know,
other one is.
So I'm getting ready to start putting this out, but I wanted to make sure I had all my ducks in a row before I started spouting off, and then I'm getting ready to go spouting off because being disabled and I'm told I can't travel, I can't do this, I can't do that. Where are my rights?
Especially under the Disabilities Act, but how they got you is they claimed you were a tenant.
Correct. I get
Okay.
all that. I'm old school. I get all this.
Right,
Okay.
but I mean,
I went to claims. I went to court. I did my own claims.
but you went to
and,
court.
But
well,
do you
I
have
get that now.
yourself-claimed?
Correct.
Right.
Do you have yourself claimed?
And you can always go back after them for what they've done. Because you can prove that
Absolutely, yes.
Right.
That's where I'm at now.
Well,
Okay,
here's
you
the
know
other-
it has to be filed in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C.
and in New York. And the reason being is in Philadelphia is the oldest.
It's the King's Court.
Right.
No, that's the only court that's American court.
Well,
King's Court was
you
the
call it
court.
that, but I call it a King's Court.
Okay.
In reality,
Same thing.
it's backed by. In reality, it's backed by the U.S. Postal Service.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So that's the only thing that has gold and silver still backing it. The rest of these banks do not have that. The Postal Service is actually a bank in itself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to this, have you claimed yourself? Have you put a lien
As
against the
far
title?
as what?
Have you put a lien against the title, which is your birth certificate to you?
I don't feel you need to do that.
Did you file to own to prove that your bloodline goes back to 1866 in this country?
No, I did not.
That's what I did. I filed to own myself. I filed in the Secretary of State's office, the museums, the House and Senate, and they all freaked out because then that gave me lawful authority. Oh, that's right. I can't vote because natives are not to vote because we are not supposed to be in the corporation system.
Correct. Joseph, which one are you? I'm looking at. Are you
It'll have
Black
the
of all
monopoly-
trades?
It'll have the monopoly money going into real money.
My Facebook page is Edward Johnston.
Okay. Ed, we go back years.
I know that. I hope
Okay, so why would you tell me that?
I just wanted to clarify. I know, but see, most people are not paying attention to what's going on. Now, you comprehend what they just did, what Trump just did, what was that, 2017, giving the soil back to the natives.
So you have to claim the soil as native land, is what he stated.
Right.
Mhm.
So when
Right.
you're filing your paperwork, you have to claim your standing of your bloodline. That's like when I talk to immigrants. You have to prove your bloodline if you're an immigrant, but then what is your bloodline as a fifth generation, and how are you going to set it up for that bloodline to know how to protect themselves?
So you have to do a back search on your ancestral lineage. That's why we mentioned family search earlier. Because
Yeah,
you
I've
have to
seen
be able
that
to-
family search. Yeah. Yeah, you ended up mentioning that last week. I thank you for that, but I did not go. I pulled up the website, but I didn't go any further.
Well,
Well,
see,
That looks a lot better than the other one.
well, yeah,
ancestry.
I don't get into that stuff because I did all mine by going through my grandfather, my grandmother, and I went back to the grave sites and had done all the history and, went through that to trace my history back. We went through the grave sites to trace my history.
Well, they actually have snapshots, usually of headstones on there. And then they connect
Just wanted to
everybody.
make sure I couldn't have a conflict of interest.
Right. But that's the idea on there. You can actually get headstone pictures and whatnot and actually take them right off the website. It came about because my aunt is a Latter-day Saint. And when Alex Haley came out with the Roots back in the 80s, I believe it was, she started researching the family history. So there's 7 generations of pews so far that we've gotten back on. We're somehow stumbled from that one. But because I'm a direct bloodline of Powhatan and Pocahontas, Powhatan's my 15th great-grandfather and Pocahontas is my 14th great-grandmother. So I'm actually native to the soil because the natives were already here. So they were actually considered the meek if you're going to fight them with their own stuff, because in all courtrooms they go usually by the 1611 version, King James version of the Bible, although our forefathers actually set it up under the Geneva Bible. And that's where some of the things get a little cross-haired. And that's the other one. You can actually fight with that book itself, if not both. But when it comes to it, they probably use the nom de guerre name, the all caps name, and then that's why they don't drag you into court for the sale of the property, because if they did that, they'd be caught. They actually sell
Well,
outside.
they drag you into court. But back to the Bible, my son ended up getting back to, I think he ended up getting 1836 or 1845, or I forget. He's the one who actually woke me up back in before 2000. I
Right.
thought he had 5 heads, and it turns out he did not. He was right on the money. But yeah, he ended up getting that Bible, and he ended up also, no, it was just the Bible, and he couldn't even read it, and he's very intelligent. I mean, back in the day of the Bible?
Yeah, because the F's are actually 2 S's at times, so Cassandra would look like Caffandra. It's very difficult because you have to actually go back into Old English. It's just like
correct.
Tires are spelled Tires. Over there, it's Tyres in the old days. And it's very difficult. And really, if you can get back to the Hebrew situation, it's even more challenging because, basically the first language was sign language. A lot of people think that when Christ spoke on the mountain, he spoke in tongues. That's a misconception. He didn't speak in tongues. That's the other one. I'm actually a direct bloodline descendant cousin of Yeshua ben Yosef because we spoke in Hebrew. Yosef is actually Joseph in English, so their translation to Jesus was actually incorrect. I try to honor, the family by using his real name, which is Yeshua or Yahuwah, which Yahweh would have been his father. And a lot of people think there was one God. There was actually 4. That's why you have the 4 seasons, north, south, west, east. I got that from Manly P. Hall, Secret Teachings of All Ages. But you've got to remember they're operating commerce, and that's probably how they got you. When you came into court, you gave them jurisdiction by coming into the court without being able to prepare yourself before going in because, basically...
Oh, no. I ended up going claims for a friend, and I was doing actually pretty good. And then one time they asked me to swear in, and I said, well, I will after the plaintiff swears in.
Right.
The plaintiff never showed. Duh. Of course they can't. So I asked for the lawyer to be sworn in right away. The judge, he's got to hire a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. I said, correct. And he has no first-hand knowledge. And the judge got pissed off at me, and he said, I forget what I said after that, but he ended up saying, this is all fiction entity on black and white paper. I said, correct. And I should have won that, but I didn't walk further. Because I was afraid I was an ex-friend. And I am huge on trying different things in courts. Just walk in there and try it. See where you want wrong, right. Do you have the balls to do this? I'm sorry, the guts. You got to go out and you got to be able to walk the talk.
That's the whole point. You got to be able to walk the talk.
Correct.
Well,
and
that's the
people
other
like to copy and paste, and they send docs in, and they have no clue what the hell they sent in.
Well, it's just like the Wizard of Oz.
I've been saying this for some time. It's like when, people ask for my help, and it's like, have you read it? If you haven't read it, don't put anything with me around it, because if you haven't read it, man, that's the whole point. You just said the key point, because people were just copying and pasting and not reading, not really learning.
I kept mine very simple, common law. In case if they did not let me be an ex-friend, the man that I was helping, he could at least say, and I kept it short and sweet, like 3 questions. So he couldn't blow it. But of course, he was afraid he did blow it. That paper talked to him. That little itty piece of paper talked to him. You better confess.
Well, a lot of people didn't realize that the actual movie The Wizard of Oz.
I mean, hey, that piece of paper talks to you. It calls you a taxpayer. It calls you a you.
Yeah. Well, and then how many people, when they say, "What's your name?" What's the acronym? What's the acronym for name? So a lot of people don't know that. What's the acronym for name? Leads back to the bankruptcy. Leads back to the bankruptcy of 1933. You are an enemy of the state. How do you spell name? N-A-me. It has a lot to do with words with them. And then the other one is, sadly and unfortunately, we probably could have helped you out beforehand. But like you said,
I walked it. I'm grateful. We had different hearings, different subject matters, and I'm very happy that I walked it. I didn't just talk it; I walked it. So
yeah,
I'm blessed with that.
Well, I mean, that leads back to, if you really look at their structure off the Bible too. Though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, you're walking into a shadow government. And you're walking into the valley of death.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
You know,
No, I mean, maybe people need to go to the courthouses and look, take notes, see what is going on.
Don't forget to bring your passport, though, because you're technically leaving the United States.
Correct on that. He is absolutely correct. And that's part of it, is that, that's what Ed and I are actually going through right now. There's different colors of your passport. Okay, the ones they give out here are blue. That's royalty. Okay, then they have ones that are red. Okay, but the one you're really after is the green one, because the green one is a passport, as in money.
Well, one day end up changing that. I thought it was.
How do you get a green one?
Hold on. I thought it was just the stores. Now they're changing the color.
They've changed. They've had different color ones for years. Don't you watch them old spy movies?
No, I don't watch TV. Sorry.
Well, James Bond.
But anyhow, I'm going to let you go. Someone else wants to speak. I'm glad you brought that up. I thought it just had to do with the stars. But you guys,
Absolutely
go ahead.
Not.
Thank you for taking the time out, Ed, for me.
No problem.
God bless all of you guys.
We appreciate it. Let's talk about stars. Remember, there's two flags. One flag has 48 stars in it. The other flag has 50 stars in it. One is the corporation flag, one is the American flag. But people are still flying the war flag.
Well,
people don't realize your American flag is a war flag. Why are we flying? Are we still at war? Who are we at war with? That's what I keep trying to figure out. Who are we at war with?
We're at war with the usurpers known as the United States Incorporated Corporation. They have been going after the war against the living men and women because basically they're a nightmare. Corporations are nothing but fictitious entities, and those who serve it are the ones who are bringing the nightmare into the living men and women. Also, anybody says not for profit, I'm sorry, but I'm not for profit either, because profit is a settlement on the island of St. Croix in the United States Virginia Islands. I am not for that place at all.
See, it's amazing when you start really paying attention and you start learning about what all the real history is all about. And that's the whole point. It just makes you wonder how these people can just live there, plugged into a TV set, not even having any concept of the reality of the real world that they claim that they're living in.
Thank you, gentlemen. May I?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I spoke with you before, Chief, and thank you. I just jotted down your Facebook. I think I did, which is. Can you repeat it, or are you comfortable giving your email?
You can do chiefwilliej@gmail.com.
That's what it was.
And it's just Chief Willie and single J @gmail.com.
Is it Willie with a Y or IE?
No, it's Willie with a Y.
Chief Willie, WILLOY, @gmail.com.
Yeah, it's just like if you when they mentioned earlier when they said you, Y-O-U. See, a lot of people don't get that one. Why do I owe you? You see, they trick you on these words. It's just like traders, okay, and traders. One's with a T, one's with a D. They trade us on the stock market on a daily basis by the birth certificate and everything they can get you into a contract with. That's how they create bonds and securities.
Do you think that's all going to change with the new monetary system?
Yes.
Yes.
That's why you have to file on your identity theft.
Okay.
You definitely file your identity theft.
Well, theoretically, okay, because this leads back to 9307, as Ed mentioned last week, and 9305. 9305 is under the securities administrational situations in the statutes. And 9305 is perfection of the contract or the instrument, okay? And none of them were actually perfected. And what I mean by that is, like, mine has had a flaw in it since I was born. So they didn't actually perfect that. The recent stuff that I went through in court, they just put their initials down, and you won't see them spell out their full name. You know, whenever
that's probably on purpose.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, when you deal with one of these, like the one that I had to fight, his last name was Staffa, but he put K.R. Staffa. So he doesn't mention that his, you know, first name is Keith, and I think his mother actually named him Keith Richards. So it was Keith Richard Staffa. The state trooper I went against, you know, the ironic thing is I wanted to, under discovery, you have the right to ask for all information that they have on. And
I knew I was led to speak to you. Yeah, I have a state trooper issue as well. I will definitely reach out to you.
Well, you see, the interesting one on the state trooper with mine was when I was in the car, I asked him if they told you to shoot me, would you do it? And he never answered. That's silent acquiescence. Okay, and that's kind of how they get you also. You actually have to invoke your Fifth Amendment to be silent in order for this to work. And in reality, they're just pirates, okay, because we're all considered ships and vessels. They go under Admiralty and Maritime Law. Okay, which is the oldest contractual law out there, because, you know, you had ships going back and forth. You get into your history, you'll find out that they used to hang out in the Boston Harbor, and they hired independent people, and they would wait for a British ship to come in so they could actually, you know, destroy it or rape it, you know, go in there and rape, rob, and pillage. And,
I don't doubt it at all. My question, though, is about CPS. I'm a medical professional and had recently begun working in more of a naturopathic capacity. I believe I was targeted. I'm also now helping several other families navigate the system in New York. So without giving too much information, how do you suggest one navigate this? I've done as much studying as possible. I'm pretty good at studying and learning, but not so great at navigating a system I still don't understand.
Well, email me, and there's actually a book that a man wrote who had to deal with the entire CPS structure. And he has some great information in there, you know, especially the laws backing it. The other one is, you know, as Ed says, you pretty much have to claim yourself and the children.
Yeah, you have to file to own your children first. I can walk you through the process. I already have it written up. This is something that is a simple process. Once you file and start owning your bloodline, okay, this is what starts scaring them, because now you're claiming your property. So it's not abandoned anymore.
Okay. Is this a UCC process?
Huh?
Yes.
Is this to the UCC? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and the UCC, because when you do that, because see, most people, you know, say you just shouldn't do the UCC, or they come up with these things. I filed my UCC. What I did file it in the state I was born. I filed it in the state I'm living in now, but I claimed ownership of it. And so that way, when they use my information out, it's called identity theft that I already have filed on it. So when they do that and I get a flag on it, all I have to do is file with the state attorney general in Washington, D.C., and I don't hear anything. I mean, I filed my paperwork, and these guys are freaked out the way I filed it. So nobody's
seen this
work the way I've done.
Sorry, I
Go
didn't
ahead.
interrupt you. I was just going to ask, have you seen this work with CPS cases? Because
yes, I have, and I've
learned
with. I personally have dealt with several hundred CPS cases personally myself.
Okay, that's
Right.
very telling.
And have you ever heard of
these are really hard to work with? I'm sorry?
Have you ever heard the Gaston case, Pamela and Bill Gaston, that won a $500 million lawsuit against the state of Oregon?
No.
So I was part of all that. I was their minister. So,
Okay.
and we got there into the House and Senate. You can type in Pamela and Will Gaston on YouTube. Watch the court cases. Watch how Pamela took over the court.
Oh my! And
So
you helped
where
them to do
people
that.
have done this. Been in when you watch the court cases. I'm the big guy in the back in the courthouse. But the whole point is that people don't realize, half the circumstances that is really going. And then I got to find that because I have what state are you in?
I'm in New York.
Okay, New York City or New York State?
Nope, New York State.
Okay, because New York City is still owned by the Vatican.
Okay. Nope, I'm not in the city. I'm around the Albany area.
Okay, so what you would like to do is put a question in to the clerk that you would like to see the contracts that the clerk the clerk has and the city has for the courthouse.
I'm sorry, what is the question? I'm asking the clerk.
You're questioning, putting a question into them, all right, of the contract that the city has with the courthouse.
The contract it would be the Albany County Court, so what the city of Albany has with...
What is the city contract with the courthouse?
City contract with the courthouse. Okay. Thank
Because
you.
remember, they're bouncing all this stuff off of bonds and insurance. It's like you could go into your municipality bonds, and people don't know that. That's where they hold all these tickets. When they write your tickets, it goes to municipality bonds. Those are sold on the open market, and they try to keep going back and forth to court, so they keep those bonds building money up in them.
Right. That's what I recently learned from David Straight, is that there are at least 6 bonds probably out on my son's CPS case. Well, it's my son, so I don't know if they're out on him or me.
That's what we mentioned earlier. If you go to GMEI Utility and it has a dash in there, you can type in your telephone number with both dashes and tell you how many bonds are on it.
No way.
Yes way.
Thank you, guys.
Your zip code, yeah. If you put in a friend request on me, I'll open up mine on Facebook. I just posted that today, as a matter of fact, on the GMI in my cases. So as long as it has a dash in it, it'll tell you exactly how much. I'm dealing with a young man right now who's going through a divorce, and after looking it up, he had over 6,300 bonds between him and his ex and child.
What? I probably have even more. But that's crazy, and I only say that because my ex and I have, well, it's not been me. My ex files things constantly, and we've been at this for 14 years. So I can only imagine how many there are.
Well, you see, that's the other thing. Let's think about the word bondage, okay?
Right.
Break it up.
Oh, it feels just like that, yep.
Well, no. What I'm saying is break the word up, BODAGE. In order for a bond, it has to mature, so it needs age.
Which is why
it's
they
right
don't
there
let
in
you
front
go.
of you. So, people just don't comprehend these things. And you're in Albany, which is actually a beautiful area. My stepdad's from out of Norwich, New York, so I know the Albany area.
It's actually very beautiful right now. All the trees are turning, and it is
Lucky
very
you,
nice
we're not having that issue. We're missing that issue down here in Virginia this year. It's not turning like it normally does.
Virginia is a beautiful place to be, though.
Mm-hmm. But you've been at it for 14 years.
I know the West Coast is wonderful.
They've been attacking your bonds for 14 years.
And our life, there's a lot of trauma to heal for my son, who's now 16. So my most urgent question is how to get him out of the situation he's in. But if you don't mind, Chief, I will message you on Facebook or email message you. My Facebook is Mary, so if I message you, you'll know that that's me.
Okay.
Mary what?
Mary May.
Mary May, okay.
Yeah, just mention that you were on the show tonight, and it'll be all good.
Yeah.
And Ed, you're on Facebook too?
Send me a link to it, and I'll send her this other stuff that'll blow her mind how it works.
Well, and then the CPS handbook that you sent me, I believe it was you.
Yeah.
That's going to be an eye-opener for her. Plus,
that CPS handbook is a really eye-opener. By the way, send me a copy of that back to you. You've seen I've finally got this computer work.
I know.
I have 3 computers in the last month.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Are you being targeted as well? I've gone through 7, so...
Well, I mean, I don't have the resources, man. I'm on disability.
Well, when it comes to this stuff, we're all targets. Okay?
Yep.
It's like the producer said earlier, we're going to become targets because we actually have... We don't... You want me to do what? You want me to jump off this bridge, but there's no water down there. You first.
Right.
They just don't, they don't want you to say you first. They want you to say how high. You want me to do what?
Exactly. We're a little bit beyond that. Yeah, we're not going to say
right.
okay.
I think we learned go check out the rocks in the river before you jump in it.
Well, the other one is, what is the old saying? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Exactly. I've been fooled once too many. I'm not going to fall for it again.
So, but anyhow, this is the spot that I'm going to work on. This is called Lawful Bloodline Native Americans 1866 Lives Matter More Than. Because everybody's coming up with all these things, Black Lives Matter and stuff. It's like, let's get back to the native structure of this soil. Because if we start getting people to get that train in their mind, then we can start pulling people together, because the only way they're going to have to start realizing that there is 2 structures of this country.
Yeah. Well, they've actually started a new one. They've started a new one on Facebook, which is Aborigines, because they know that the blacks and the natives were actually combined into the black structure. And that's what came out with the 3/5 vote situation back in the day. So you actually had to have five men or 5 women or 5 people, together, men and women, in order to get 3 votes. And sadly, they actually gave, it's so funny when they say Black Lives Matter, the blacks actually got the vote back in 1840, but the natives actually didn't get theirs until 1974. And they weren't even allowed to practice their own religious situations. That's why it's very happy for Ed and I, being that we have descended bloodline situations and that, where they can practice their own spiritual beliefs, and they want to dance around the fire and chant and scream at the top of their lungs. They should be able to. That's
Absolutely.
their right.
As long as no one's being hurt, why not?
Right. Now, do you actually have a Social Security card on your son?
No, he doesn't have a card. All I have is a certificate of live birth for him, and his name is spelled properly. It's in upper and lowercase, and I don't know why. At that time, I didn't know any better.
Okay. Does it say informant above your name?
That is an excellent question, and I know there's probably other people with questions, so I don't want to hold you up as I look for it, but
we tell them not to be shy. If they've got something to say, they need to chime up.
Right.
If you let anybody say a dang thing, I tried to chime in 3 times and y'all just ignored me. So forget that. Everybody else, shut up. Let them talk.
I didn't hear you. I'll be quiet. I can.
No, don't worry about it, Mary. I was just gonna chime in saying the GMEI utility, as I put in our phone number, our cell phone number we got. It has 40 claims on it, or 40 records, and it goes from Canada to Cayman Islands to Germany to Italy, Japan, Mexico, Sweden, United Kingdom, and then the United States. And the Virgin Islands.
You're not from all those places.
Nope. Virgin Islands also. This is basically, they use the number as a bond, and they trade it. They multiply it. They trade it even more. They multiply it even more. So basically, you say, okay, they got your number. It's worth, let's say, 10,000. Round number. Then they trade it, put it in a bundle, and they multiply that bundle by 10, so all of a sudden it's worth 100,000. But in that bundle, yeah, it's 100,000 for yours, but the bundle's got 10, so all of a sudden you got a million. So
have
a million.
You clicked on the 20-digit number in the front?
Oh yeah, I have. I've clicked on it. One of them is Fort Lauderdale Warehouse Corp. Basically, I looked on the number, and it shows me that it was transferred. Yeah.
So those are going to be SPCs, secured party creditors. Okay. So the other one is, you've heard of the G20 summit, right? Anybody? So the G20 summit. Okay, the G20 summit. Ironically, the digits you're clicking on the front of that GMEI utility, it's exactly an alphanumeric, and it's exactly 20 digits. That's what they're talking about when they're talking about what we're meeting for the G20 summit. And last time they met, Trump busted on them hard. And I mean busted on them hard, because you're actually financing the world.
20 digits as in 20 figures?
Yes.
Yeah, one of them right here is 549300W76N5HJC557383.
So that sounds like proof of some sort of fraud, I would have to say, with my limited legal knowledge.
In a way, they're claiming ownership of you, or, I mean, if it's your social, they're claiming ownership of you. And if you claimed the ownership of yourself, as far as I know, you could challenge this. Right?
I think God would have a problem with that.
Yep. Okay, if you look up LEI on Wikipedia, Legal Entity Identifier, GMEI, Global Marketing Entity Identifier. Okay, when you look up the UCC paperwork, as Ed was talking about earlier, on the UCC 1, you're going to see a section just below the top box area. It's going to say certain, such and such, and it'll say transient utility. That's what we are to them, amongst many other things.
No. That's so sick. I know. I have heard this before about the chattel and whatnot, and I'm sorry if all of you listening, you probably think that...
No, so the other one is there's actually a box on there. It says to file a non-UCC one, and that's how you get out of the system.
Okay.
And then you can actually close all the accounts down. Now, here's the interesting part. A lot of people don't know this. Okay, so we were talking earlier about the 9 digits on your Social Security number, the nine digits in your QSIP number, and then the actual 9 digits that you have when it comes to your zip code. Okay, so that leads to 999. Okay, well, there's 3 of those. So it's $999,999,999. Now, how many letters are in the alphabet?
26.
I don't know. Okay.
Exactly. So there's 26 accounts open at $999,999,999 in your name. So you are financing the world. We have been for a very long time.
Well, then why don't I have a car that doesn't sound like its muffler is going to fall off of it?
Okay, the reason being is because they just, this has taken a very long time. I mean, Ed and I have been at this for 4 decades. Okay,
I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and being so patient.
Oh, by the way, get a hold of me so I can send you the law. What does it say? Oh, you'll love this one. Courts are free for people, but not for persons.
Oh yeah. Okay, good. So I don't want to file it, and I'm a poor person, but I don't want to pay $450. So can I just file that? I'm
standing. You don't pay.
What we suggest is you actually do it by registered the green card. Okay, so back to the green. Okay, so the registered mail where they return the green card to you.
Yes, the certified mail.
Right. You take it and send it certified under the green card directly to the clerk. Okay, the county clerk. Okay, because here's the way it works. The clerks are all across the United States. The main one works for the U.S. Treasury. There's another one that works for the IRS. Usually they're one and the same, but sometimes they split them up. And what that does is it notifies the clerk. The clerk has to notify the head clerk in D.C. they notify the Tower of Power, which is also known as the International Court in New York. Okay, and then what happens is they see what's going on, and that's where, you know, when you claim yourself, as that's going to help you out with, we're both going to do this. What happens is once you claim yourself, you have control, and what you're going to do is you're actually going to use your Title II, which is your birth certificate, and then you're going to make it for a certain amount. What you want to make it for unlimited, because in reality, by the time you were 25, there were 17 zeros behind that digits. Okay, so in reality, it's an unlimited situation. Eventually what happens is, if you really go full tilt on this, you're going to give up all their licensing back to them. You're going to get a passport and passport card, and you want your unlimited card. And then you're going to be in the private, not for hire, when you register your car, as compared to recording it. And that's one of the things that, you know, Ed's trying to shape up on his. He never recorded with a DOT, Department of Transportation, and your tax number. Okay, so back to the Wizard of Oz. You had the straw man, which is what we are in the all caps name. And what was his partner? The Tin Man. Tax identification number.
Oh, wow.
And you can't be a cowardly lion when you go in here. And if you actually read the original book, which I did when I was a child, her slippers were not rubies. They just wanted to be a little colorful. It was actually about silver, them taking the silver and gold. And that's one of the things that we're, you know, a lot of people don't believe it, but the man in the Oval Office is actually trying to get us back to like 1900s, to where we don't have all these taxes. It was based on tariffs in the beginning. And that's what he's trying to do, is restructure it, and they don't want that, because then they'll lose their positions, or they won't be able to, you know, they'll have to work half the year. They'll actually have to go back to work. They won't be able to sit down on Capitol Hill for a whole year and get paid, you know, $510 a day on the average.
Right, and the rest of us won't have to work 60 hours a week.
Right. So, and that's the idea. And it's really sad, because they had a lot of stuff in position before they pulled this little wang-dang data out of their bag with the COVID-19 stuff. But, you know, that's the idea, is a license is to be privileged to do something that you would naturally have the right to do to begin with.
Right.
You know, so, you know, unfortunately you have to return everything, and then what you have to do is you have to file UCC3 with it, claiming what you have, which is, you know, any kind of profit.
UCC3, not the UCC1.
You have to combine both of them. The UCC3 is
actually the one first and then the 3. Okay.
The 3 is basically letting them know what merchandise or what materials you have, what property you own, what private property you own. You know, and that's the sad part. In the old days, you actually used to be able to record that with the governor of the state. So, but yeah, with the GMEI stuff, it's amazing what you can find on that. I mean, there's 432 bonds alone on my power company, and like the producer was saying, most of mine come out of Japan. I guarantee you, it's 99 point some odd percent that are coming straight out of Japan.
How does one find that? I mean, I've had so many phone numbers recently because so many have gotten compromised. So I've gotten different phone numbers. I mean, this has not been a pattern my whole life, but just in the past probably 2 years.
Yeah, well, you know, sadly, you can type all your old telephone numbers in, and it doesn't matter if they've sent it on to somebody else, it'll still tell you how many bonds are on it. The average is anywhere from 45 to probably about 400. I mean, we've seen some incredible things. When Ed looked up his stuff, he had 102,000.
Whoa!
Friend of ours down in Florida had 118,000 bonds. But
oh my goodness!
But you see, she's also married to a military man. Okay, see, and it's different for military. The minute you sign over on the military, they have complete control. You know, when you die, you're worth gazillions, but they're only going to give your family 500,000. Isn't that so white of them?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, you can do that. Anything with a dash in it. You know, I actually did my mother's Social Security number. Coming February of next year, she'll have been passed on for 10 years. Last time I looked, she was being traded for 551 bonds. Kind of hard to do when you're no longer walking the face of this earth. So you see, that's part of what's being exposed, is it is fraudulent. You know, but the idea is,
will all of this be shut down with the new currency, or do we still need to cancel all these bonds to stop?
Well, you see, you can't it's just like the movie The Matrix. You're not going to get everybody out of the system right away. It's got to be a gradual work in. Okay. So like Ed will explain to you, he'll back me up on this one because, you're in there for 99 years. So if you die,
okay, and I don't want to wait anyhow, because I think at least what David Straight told me was as soon as I cancel the bonds, if I could figure out what they were, and it sounds like I can find them out with what you're telling me, and then I'll email you to find out more.
Well, the idea is you can actually... Right.
Well, and the other point, too, that nobody's picking up on, and I keep trying to get people to get this one. You got all these things that, my face and what is that? You got all these organizations up there that have, you can type in to see who you are, find out anybody you want. You know what I mean?
Like an identity search?
Right, identity search.
Okay.
So, and that's the point. When you got deceased family members, you call them up and get all this stuff removed off of the record. See, I call them up, and if I got my stuff on any of those pages, I already got it written up for $50 million bond on their corporation members. They freaked when I filed that.
Well, a lot of people don't know it. From the birth certificate, your Social Security number, you're actually a stockholder and a shareholder in the corporation. And you see, that's how it all came about. Now what you're asking for is control of the stock. And you want to get completely out, and you want to be paid out. And then one of the things that I suggest immediately after that is find somebody who has a good gold and silver situation and go stock up quickly. And that's the other one that, the way the corporations do it, they actually write it off by standard forms from the IRS, which is also whenever you see an IRS paperwork like a 4506A, which is to find out if they're a non-for-profit, you can send that in. You can also go to the state insurance commissioner and find out if they actually have bonds on them.
Don't forget the 5406A form.
I just did that, 4506.
I didn't hear you. Sorry.
And if you look on the right-hand side of that, you're going to see in the small right-hand corner in a block, it'll say OMB, and it'll have a different number. That's because they got to kick it to the Office of Management and Budget, which is room 1111, 1500 Pennsylvania Avenue. It's on the opposite side of the White House.
Okay.
So, but you can actually take snapshots of the GMEI like I have done. We just had a guy actually send it in because he's going through the divorce situation, and I think it probably has shaken them up now because he had over 6,300 bonds, and they've only been at it for 3 years. So can you imagine what you have in 14 years? I just recently did a woman who's been trying to get divorced for 10 years, and hers was $31,000. Two of her daughters stacked up to $83,000 along with hers. That's over 100,000 bonds.
And I don't really know what the bonds mean, and I'm not even really interested in the money. I would like to just cancel whatever is associated with my son and CPS, because CPS will not let him go, and I've still not had a trial, and it's been over a year because they know that I've not done anything wrong.
Well, what they've done is here's how the CPS works, and this is how the system works. What they've done
is you filed on discovery on CPS on the charges?
I'm sorry, what was that about discovery?
Have you filed a discovery on the charges?
No, I'm trying to navigate all this.
No. Is that, if they're doing this, you have a right, and I would be serving them a discovery for all the charges they're claiming now.
Okay.
Okay? Because, once you start opening that up, because, you're going in and then you're filing that, not only that, with that court system, you're filing with the FBI, the CIA, and the marshals.
And don't forget the the SS.
Yes, and we can't forget the Treasury.
Right. So here's the other one. Here's the back one up. Okay, now you can probably go online and look under, okay, copyright or
Yep.
what's the other one? It's like the land title. Oh, come on. My brain's just playing with me tonight bad.
It's okay. Or you can email you tomorrow, too.
Well, the sad part is we go through this so much, you know, Ed and I, and then we're helping out people. We get kind of sidetracked. But patent, when you do a patent on yourself, land patent or a patent, okay? So you can probably check to see if there's a patent or a copyright, okay? Type your son's name in there. Okay, so like I know for a fact there's one down in Florida right now because of this court case. Only they spelled it lowercase, all of it lowercase, Joseph, and my middle name is William, okay? But I don't post that. Now, when I checked it, it was Joseph Will Aim. So they took out the I-M, dropped it from the backside of Will and split it, and then put Pew, and then my last name also ends with a third. And what they did was they put small i's instead of large capital ones, which would be the Roman numerology, the way I was actually named. And the reason I know about the informant is because on my birth certificate it actually says informant above mother. What's an informant? She's one that actually snitches on somebody that's a criminal. So before I could actually make a gallon of caca, I was a criminal.
It does not say informant on my son's certificate of birth.
But did you do it under your maiden name or your married name?
Married name.
And that's how they got him. That's how
Why?
they do it. Your son became a bastard child.
Well, wait, no, it says my married name. He's not a bastard child. It says we all have the same last name. My ex-husband's last name, my last name, and my son's last name are all the same. So
That's
he has I know, well, it's not what I've heard anywhere.
Yeah, that's actually falls under the 9305. They didn't perfect it. And that's one of the things you can fight with. That's non-perfection.
Well, I mean, it sounds right. It says my son's name, his middle name, and his last name, which is his father's last name. And my name says...
I see what you're saying, but what you're not comprehending is what they actually did was they took it away from you, and that's actually identity theft on all three of you at the same time, is what I'm saying. So...
Oh. I don't understand, but I certainly believe you.
So basically what happens is when you're in the hospital and your child is born, the doctor is paid a kickback for every child that he gets registered to the state. Okay, so they get like an extra little allotment of money, usually somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000 per child.
No way.
Yes way.
So, and then let's think about that. They actually talk of you as vessels. Okay,
you weren't aware when they give you the flu shot, the doctors will get paid $2,400 every time they give a flu shot to anybody?
You gotta be kidding me. I've never had one, and my son never did either until he got taken away. All of a sudden, he got a whole ton of vaccines, and I'm really not okay with that at all.
Yeah, but see, that way he has to be filed for evasion and terrorizing of his body and stuff. That has to be filed that way.
Oh, you guys are good.
Because you have criminal charges on them. Because if you don't write the criminal charges, it doesn't exist because under, what is that called? Title 18, 3771, there has to be an injured man or woman.
And he's been injured
Title 18,
now.
3771, oh yeah, in many ways.
771.
When you contact me, I have the entire section of Title 18.
Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you. I was thinking of filing in federal court under Rule 60, and just learned that...
File in Washington, D.C., in Philadelphia, United States.
And then hit it up with the third one at the New York, which is the actual Court of International, because everything is international. You know, we just proved that on the GMEI as the producer study went all across the United States and all.
No wonder no one is winning. Now, Chris Hallett and Kirk Pendergrass say you have to go into the legislature.
let me break it down for you. The woman that I just told you about that has over 100,000 bonds and been going with her husband for 10 years. Kurt charged her $150 and sent her a package, and she was already 5 years ahead of that. Another one that we know of tried to charge a friend of ours $5,000. He sent him $2,500. He's never seen it. Okay.
What do you mean never seen? Never seen what?
He's never seen any paperwork from him. He's never seen any transpire any kind of paperwork as of yet. Plus,
you're saying it's like he didn't get any remedy?
No. There's a lot of all of these people are out there that are doing this, claiming that. And don't forget, you got, and remember, Kurt's Law Corner, he's a lawyer.
No, he's not.
So, and you got a lot of lawyers on Facebook that are out there trying to claim a lot of stuff, but they're lawyers.
Well, he fled the Ohio State to Florida State to get out of trouble. Let's put it that way. Does that sound like somebody that really knows what's going on?
Wait, what did he do?
He left Ohio State and fled to Florida State.
I think he's still in Ohio.
No, he's not, because they've been looking at him in Ohio. They've been wanting him for quite a while.
Oh, actually, wait, no, he's in Idaho. Kirk Pendergrass?
I don't think so anymore. I have friends of mine that have actually personally seen him in the South. He left because there was charges on him, and that's the other thing is that, it's great to talk the talk, but like Cheyenne said, if you haven't walked the walk, you haven't walked the talk,
Right.
And that's it. We try to save people from having to go through all that because, I know for a fact one friend's out of $5,000. I know another one's out of, 150, some other monies. It's great to make donations, but in reality it's called gifts. And that's what the government's doing. They're gifting themselves. And that falls under some of the Statute 8, Statute 9, and the banking industry, which is Statute 12. And, they're going to get themselves in trouble, and especially what Trump's redone on the executive orders. And that's because where's that money? Where's it filtering down to? And it's
money given to these guys. Is that what you're saying? I'm sorry, I wasn't quite following.
Oh yeah.
Money. We haven't seen money.
No, they give them to other people. And it's sad because we do hours upon hours of work.
I know.
It's just, but it's just like anything else. I mean, if you're going to go by the biblical situation, did Christ ever ask for anything?
Nope.
He only gave. So you see, that's kind of, we
right.
give, if somebody wants to give a gift, we won't turn it away, but we don't ask for it. We would rather see you succeed and be happy. The other one is I've never seen anybody come out and say, oh, by the way, so-and-so helped me out. I just want to send you a letter of thanks. Because you'd think...
Wow, are you kidding? No one's done that? And you've helped... No. I think I just heard Ed say he's helped many, I don't know, he said several hundred, I think, children.
Well, and then that's the other one. I don't see any of the other ones that are actually getting funds, okay, that have actually said, hey, this person helped me out, and they made a testimony to it. Hey, thank you for helping me out. I really appreciate what you did. No, what we get here is, oh, well, no, they want to be in the private now. I'm sorry. Somebody's going to help me out. I'm going to talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure if you review a lot of the Oregon tracker stuff that's been, taped here in the last few months, I don't know how many times I've thanked Ed, I'm still struggling with issues, but, that's the idea is that it doesn't come easy because the minute you do this, they want the slaves to run off the plantation. They want to keep you as a slave. They want to keep you entrapped. And that's the other one when I said, you might want to look up the patent or the copyright to see if your son's name is in the copyright, because that information is usually available online these days also.
How would you find that?
Usually you can look up copyrights and check the name. Every state has a section online that you can check in case there's a business name. Like I used to have one called Alter State.
The copyright name in the state, too. Because you weren't born, that's a copyright name, so they claimed it, so it should be in the copyright files.
They would have claimed it in all caps, though, right?
Correct.
Not always. Not always, Ed.
That's true, not always. You have to really read the form.
You know, it just depends on how slick they wanted to be at the time. You know, it's a slippery slope. But I think we have been. Oh, we're way over time.
Oh, I'm so
surprised.
sorry.
No, it's okay. We just try to keep an eye for the producer, and it doesn't mean that it's a YouTube thing. It's really not for people. It's the YouTube itself. So, you know, sometimes we'll jump off, you know, so that we're not, and we can record it out.
I totally get it. I actually have another appointment as well, but I will reach out to you by email, and can we talk by phone? And
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, once you hit me up on Facebook, it'll come up on Messenger, and then we can pass stuff back and forth, and we do that, and then, you know, other things.
Fantastic.
You know, and then with the telephone number, we can directly send it through the message on the telephone number, so it doesn't have to go through Messenger. And, you know, we warn people because Ed and I know that, you know, and just like, you know, everybody's mentioned on here, you know, they're watching us. We know they're watching us.
They sure are. They're never far from my doorstep.
Well, the sad part is I wish they would actually take in consideration that we're not trying to, like we always say, we're not belligerent, we're not combatants, we're trying to help.
No.
Here,
yeah.
You know, but, you know, let's get it structured right. I mean, the sad part is they look at us with dollar signs instead of looking at us as, you know, a fellow man or woman that just wants to get out of it, you know.
Right.
So, but yes, enjoy.
Thank you both for just being so patient and giving and kind. God bless you.
Thank you. So, anyhow, you would like to say anything final to this evening, Chief?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming on. You know, Cheyenne, everybody. You know, I know D-Day was out there. I heard him laughing. Don't know if he's still on, but, you know, just good to be, you know, helping people out. We enjoy part of this, if you can't tell in our voices. You know, we try to do the best we can. We hope that other people can bring things to the table or the counter, you know, so that we can get more information out to everyone. And with that, may the Creator bless you. Mother Earth on top of that.
Hey, I would like to thank everybody for joining us again this evening. We appreciate your time, and the one thing is do your research. Don't listen to these people. And when somebody tells you something, check it out first. At least be realistic. You know, because I have watched these people get money sent to them. I watched people have it destroyed to their families because we created an argument with their own families. Instead of doing this, check, research, think logically before you react first. You know, think about it 3 or 4 times in your mind before you react. So with that, may the Creator bless you, may the Mother take care of you, and the Father make sure that we all have warm shelter. With that, you have a good evening.
All right, it is Saturday, September 26, 2020, and when Ed says do your research what they say, he even means himself and Chief Willie J. Because you might find something they don't see, and that could hinder you becoming free. So, and hey!
We don't. Sorry.
I'm in the middle of rhyming here. Why don't you just open your ear? Anyway, we will see you next week, and we might actually have to start instituting bathroom breaks with these long-winded windbags here, because they want me to be sitting here on a regular basis just listening to them. Sometimes I got to go to the bathroom, but you know what? I can't because I got to listen here. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you guys out in the audience are the same way. So, anyways.
Hey, well then, pipe up and we'll have to sit there and time a 3 or 4 minute pee break.
Who said it was going to be a pee?
So, you'll pipe up, we'll figure it out. What were you going to say, Chief?
I said you can always yell out TP.
No.
Or TV.
No. How about gotta go access the John Wayne toilet paper?
I was just saying, we gotta go water the plant.
You gotta go see the Duke.
Yeah, I gotta go do producing in the bathroom.
Right.
Alright, with that, guys, we'll get going, and we'll see you next week. And again, I hate listening to my voice, but I'm not going to be listening to this. And if I can get my internet to work properly, I'm going to start uploading these videos onto Rumble, because I have become a member there, and I'm actually wanting to have a secondary spot, because honestly, YouTube has a tendency to delete channels. So if we can start having a secondary repository of information, we can start putting, we can at least save it. Now, Rumble is focused on making sure you're really good at being able to put up what you want. They don't they don't censor you unless you go against their agreements, and their agreements really isn't that harsh. They're not owned by the by Google, which is owned by the Crown. So effectively, they're a lot freer. Also, if anybody is part of Parler, look for outdated views, and I'll be posting up video links to YouTube regular there, because I'm doing that. These are Parler is also a free speech. It's like Twitter, but they don't censor you. If you say Trump's gonna win 2020, they don't block you right off the bat like Twitter is doing now. So with that, guys, we'll see you. And if you want to know about Parler or Rumble, go ahead and watch the Dan Bongino show every once in a while. He advertised that, and that's where I got in on it. So, go ahead, guys. We'll see you next week.